Beyond the Fairway podcast, Will, it is time. It's episode 1. We going live and direct. Ray Allen coming in here. Will, what a ride that you and I are about to go on.
Yeah. You know, you got to think, man, going back to the very first, one of the Advocate Pro Tour golf events that we did, was it 10 years ago, 11 years ago, maybe?
2011, man.
2011, man, when I met you in that tee box. And I never forget, like, you know, you came to the tee box and you were like, I don't know you, but I'm playing with, we had a mutual friend, Kevin Lyles. Shout out to Kevin Lyles.
Yeah,
and you came to the tee box, man. He was like, I'm playing with you guys. I'm like, sure, come on. And that was a round that evidently changed my life, obviously.
Hey, it changed mine too. I didn't realize I'd have a roommate for the remainder of that trip, but you know, it's all good. I was happy to have you on the ride, my first time in LA. But Will, I mean, what we got going on right now in this episode, in this journey is, I'm excited, man. I'm almost more excited about the episode than us making it through the Sea of Crips.
Yeah. The Crips, yeah, that was quite experience either. I don't know if everybody know the exact situation, how that happened, how that came about. But just a real quick. So you and I this is for the people who are listening. You and I we were at the parking lot of Chester, Washington, and we saw a sea of Crips at the multi-purpose center. You know, black people, you know, in golf courses in the hood, the clubhouse is a clubhouse and it's a multi-purpose center.
Yeah,
at this time, it was a homegoing celebration, and I just never forget, man. You know, when we weren't scared, but we're scared a little bit.
I ain't gonna lie, it wasn't comfortable. It wasn't a comfortable moment driving through a sea of Crips when you in LA and you in South Central. At the golf course, man. And we definitely got to unpack that for a lot of our guests. But today ain't about no Crips. I don't think this guy's ever even worn blue. Ray Allen coming on here. I'm looking forward to the conversation. I want to mix it up a little bit. I don't think a lot of people know how intellectual Ray is. So I want to get his take on not only his preparation in golf and getting ready for the Diamond Resorts. I want to talk about the social climate and all the things that are going on in the world and figure out how to kind of see that through a golf lens and how can golf massage and or bring us to the table to communicate about these varying topics in our society.
I just to second that, man. I can't wait either. Ray and I have had ample amount of conversations on the driving range of social issues and that surrounds golf and South America just in general. And you know, over the years, I've listened to Ray. You know, I really took in a lot of things that he said over the years, and I'm excited to give the listeners another point of view that they may not know that Ray possessed. And I know he's gonna get deep into it. I don't know exactly what he's gonna say, but it's gonna be well informed for sure.
Hey, like we said in episode 0, I don't know if you're ready. I don't know if people are ready for what we're about to bring, but hey, let's go beyond the fairway right now with my man, 2-time NBA champion Ray Allen. Beyond the Fairway podcast, Doug Smith alongside of my man Will Lowry, and what a treat we have for you today. We got NBA legend, Hall of Famer, 2-time NBA champion. Where the rings at, Mr. Ray Allen? What's going on, my friend?
What's happening? Rings are stowed away. Actually, they're just out in the open.
Well, Ray, hold on. I know everybody all excited that you're here. I'm glad you're here. I got some issues.
Mm-hmm.
Doug, I'm talking to Doug. I'm not really talking to you right now, Ray. Actually.
Okay.
We got the 10-time All-Star, 2-time NBA champ, the guy who has mastered the three-point shot, 2000 gold medal or 2000 Olympic gold medalist, taking his talent to the big screen. He's known for, another alias. We'll get in that later. Obviously, everything he touches on, he excels in. And I can't figure out why this guy can't win the damn Diamond Resort or the American Century. Great swing. Great
Ray,
ball striker.
I'm going to let you cut in here, Way, because, Ray, I know you
Don't cut me off.
I'm
not done, Doug. I'm not done. For this guy to not have to be hosting a trophy is baffling to me. It's baffling. So now I want to know, I don't know, Ray, if you need to get your couch, lay down, look at the roof. We about to have brain surgery. Why haven't you won the Diamond Resort or American Century as of yet? I'll leave it to you.
Just like
Not a good enough answer, Ray. Not a good enough answer, Ray.
Just like anything else, golf is not that simple. I know there was a year where I came close, and there's a process to it to understand how to win. Just like anything else, when you're playing basketball, you see teams that can't win because they practice in those losing ways, those losing habits. So there's 3 keys that I always have, for my kids when we're playing basketball. In the fourth quarter, in order to win games, you have to rebound, make free throws, and take care of the ball. And so that's kind of, every sport has its mantras that allow you to win. And, in the same token, why certain guys lose. And for me, I haven't committed to the process yet. As much as I play golf, committing to playing tournament golf, it's a different animal. And so it's great, and I love being in it, but I only do it twice a year. And it's difficult for me right now because there's so many other things kind of up in the air. So I look forward to those days when I can play more events, play amateur events, and, go into this tournament where, I'm operating on all cylinders. So I feel the same way that you feel. I feel like I'm close and I can get there, but there's got to be this professional approach, because I know how I play basketball. So coming into golf, I have to apply those same attitudes and that mentality. The couple of times that I was in the top 5 or top 10, either in Tahoe or Diamond Resorts, it was stressful. It was like draining, because you're paying attention to every shot. You're throwing grass up in there. You're doing every little small protocol to hit every shot. And, golf gives you such an arrogance when you become a better golfer. You gain this arrogance where you think, I'm just going to go up and hit it right over here, and I'm going to put, and then you don't take a practice swing, and then before you know it, the ball goes somewhere that you didn't want to go. And it requires you to attend to it the whole time you play it, before you play it, and after you play it. So when you finish 18, you go right to the range if you want to be good the next day. So that type of attention to detail is I think it's more consuming than basketball. So I'm still learning that process.
But hold on, Ray. I got to ask you, because I've seen you play. We've had a chance to play in some groups together back in the day. You're used to playing for some change on the line. So I feel like, from my vantage point, playing a money game, playing a skins game always got me ready to go. You do that, Ray, a couple times a week. So what else do you have to do to put yourself in those tournament-like positions to get ready to win one of these events that Will's mentioning?
The super most important thing, I believe, as much as golf is an individual sport, you have to understand where the team aspect lays. So one of the most important aspects of winning tournaments is, your swing coach and your caddy. And then, figuring out, understanding when your tee time is, when you're going to eat, when you're going to sleep, how you're going to work out. Like, all those things are incorporated into how you play a tournament. When I go out to play in a tee time where I'm just throwing a group together, playing with a bunch of guys, you don't think about anything else. You're laughing and joking the whole time, eat when you want to eat. And there's a sense of, you kind of redistribute the pressure. So it's not out there, but it's on that putt, because that putt is worth the whole front nine. But you're laughing, you're having a good time, you listen to music, and you kind of let your mind drift. But when you go into a tournament, you have to be on plane. You have to think about your alignment. You have to think about every small little thing, yardages you want to hit at, have a plan on each hole. And you have to rely on the caddy. You have to stay connected on what you hit on the first par 3, as opposed to what par 3 is going the same direction to win, and all these things going into play. And they make a difference. When you see guys playing in tournaments, what they do is, what you see I always laugh, because these guys hit the ball on the green, and then you watch his body language, and then the TV goes to his ball, and the ball lands about 25 feet, but pin high.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, what is he pissed off about?
Right.
Because from the tee box, it looks so far away, and he probably, didn't commit to the swing. He still made the green, and that's the mistake or the miss that those guys have. But the ones that we would know about, the ones whose swings we admire and who we want to be like, those guys hit it within 10 to 12 feet every time. And so they're dialed in. And there's that difference, because I know the difference in basketball. Yeah. When you're dialed in, when I go into a court and I go to work out before a game, I can look on the other side and see what kids don't understand preparation, how to dial in. And you kind of see the same thing in golf when you're playing, the ones that are dialed in, the ones that are not. And so getting to that level, is super important, because I pride myself on getting to the range, pulling up about an hour and a half before my tee time. So I'm on the range an hour before and I can really swing. But even, if I'm being honest, that's not enough time, because I could spend 30 minutes, 45 minutes in the sand trap and hitting hitting pitch shots and working on my short game. And then, the part that I always kind of lose sight of is, as of now, is my driver. Given enough time to it, because I hit a couple straight, but you need to really work that, work it, as much as you can. And you sit there, the philosophy, the idea is to not to do it till you get it right, do it till you can't get it wrong.
Get it wrong, exactly.
So that's how I know we different, Will, because when I'm playing for them in those Skins games, I'm nervous. It feels like a tournament. I might be playing outside of my tax bracket, and that's why I get those nerves. That's
because your pockets are upside down.
But you gotta have that. You gotta have that. That's the thing. And it's fascinating for me, because you're right, Doug. Our levels of pressure perceived are different because of the levels of pressure that I've been on. So it takes a lot more to really, create some anxiety in my heart and my brain. And so, I like to, put everything on the line, like, 3 putts, missing the green, missing the fairways. And because I need that focus for everything. And if I'm playing bad, if I'm missing fairways, then I lose. And what it does is it forces me to dial in even more. And some people, when you play certain games, some people don't want it because they don't want to have to dial in. They just want to go out there and swing freely. And you ask your friend, somebody comes up to you, one of your buddies, said, "Man, I shot a 70 yesterday." The first question that we always ask, my buddies and I, who did you play with? Because if you play with some guys that didn't impose any pressure on you, didn't hit good shots, then you have a tendency to swing a little freer. Because whether people realize it or not, golf is superbly connected. If Doug, if you stand to the tee box and you hit the ball to the left and it's out of bounds, and then Will, you step up next, where do you think your ball's going to go? Typically,
same spot. Always
opposite.
Oh, because I'm trying to avoid it. Yes.
Well, because human nature kicks in, and the first thing we do, we watch Doug's reaction. We say, "Oh, I don't want to go over there," and then as you stand over, and this is where your mind has to overcome that weakness of being consumed by what Doug just did, and you have to tell yourself, turn. And that's why you go through your routines. That's why you practice routine. That doesn't even matter what he does, but a lot of us, we internalize what just happened, and we end up not getting our hands through because we say, "Shit, I don't want to be over there where he is."
Right.
And you don't get your hands through. And that's why I always watch that. And it's fascinating to see the ones that are so strong-minded that end up hitting the ball straight down the fairway because they didn't let that shot bother them whatsoever.
So, and I firmly agree. When we talk about the levels of the mini tour, we're playing for checks, and you guys on PGA Tour are playing for trophies. But I want to kind of rewind a little bit. And every guest that comes on here, especially this is a golf show, and we're trying to grow the game, and I want this to be memorable. Can you tell me or talk me through the shot that brought you back to the game at a beginner level, when you first stepped up on a golf course, driving range, whatever it was? What was the shot that brought you back?
I'll tell you the shot that I probably remember the most. I was in Mexico, and I was standing over. I don't know what course I was playing, but I was in the desert, and I was standing over this shot. I was about 100 yards in. There was nothing. It was a pretty, forgivable fairway. So I couldn't really hit it in the desert. It was just a matter of how close I was going to get it to the pin.
Right.
But as I stood over that shot, I said to myself, I actually don't know where this ball is going to go.
What year was this, Ray? What year was this?
This was 90, maybe 98.
Okay.
98, okay. 99, somewhere around
there. Just getting to the league.
Yeah. So I was just sitting there thinking, I don't know where this ball's going to go. And so in that moment, I had a flash of, brilliance where it said, wow, this is actually basketball. This is everything I do. If I don't practice it, I don't know where it's going to go. So it kind of pushed the thought into my mind. I was like, I actually do the same thing in basketball. Like I'll go through, these moves that I don't practice and expect a positive result. And so from that day forward, that shot that I sat over, I said, this is the shot I need to practice all the time. And then from that day forward, every time I went to the driving range, I worked on every club, every other 2 clubs to make sure that I knew what that club was going to do. And I knew the distance I was going to get and everything. And, that's what the guys on tour do all the time. But as an amateur player, it just dawned on me at that moment to rehearse. It's not when you talk about greatness in any athlete, it's not, you see a guy hit a shot at the end of the game or throw a touchdown or catch a touchdown, and you sit there thinking the guy's so happy and he's celebrating. He's done that a million times.
Right?
A million times.
Right. Like, this ain't new. Nothing new.
Yeah, it's nothing new, and it's so fascinating to me. Like, you don't realize how hard it is to do it when you got somebody trying to keep you from doing it. But those of us who have done it before, that's why you see them. You like, I've been here before. I know how to behave. I know how to act. And so
Absolutely. most
of that preparation is all about your desires not to fail. Because you've seen enough people.
I like that. Ray. Your desire not to fail.
Yeah.
My college coach used to say something similar. He says, it's not about making birdie. It's about not making bogey.
Yeah. So if you think about the lens through which we see sports, you're watching sports every single day. They come on every single day. And we get both the good and the bad. So when a guy's playing terribly, they show that, he was 2 for 19 and I don't want to be him. Or guy shot 78 and he missed a cut and you're like, I don't want to be him. So you see both the 59s and the 79s, on tour. Right. And so what that does is it awakens your consciousness and it teaches you what you don't want, in connection to what you want. You see both sides of the spectrum. So when you see that, the only way to achieve that 59 is to go put the work in, because if you don't put the work in for that 59, and that 79 is going to be sitting there waiting on you, and even worse in golf.
Right.
So Ray, I want to get into something with you real quick because it's one of those things that I've always wanted to ask you, and I want to start with the expression that was made fairly recently in the last couple of years, seasons, about shut up and dribble. Okay, about how athletes should stay out of certain topics and certain political spaces. I want to ask you about platform utilization, because I follow you on Instagram. I feel like I like every other post. You're a guy that's not afraid to stand up for social injustices or the little guy out there. Tell me about how is it? Because I think people see what you say, and then you get, people act a certain way about that statement. But internally, what is your position right now with the state of the world?
Well, there's so much in that question. I think first, people who don't like what I say don't like it because what I'm saying is against their truth or their narrative. And the thing that I always try to remind people of is we come from different backgrounds. We share different experiences. And oftentimes I'm attacked because, I could put something on social media that comes straight from the news, comes straight from someone's mouth, and then somebody on my feed will say it's fake news, or you need to do your research, and you can't believe everything that you hear. And I'm like, well, I'm not supposed to believe the person that just said it.
Right.
In the beginning, when Trump took office 4 years ago, we had this conversation. We were all having these conversations about Twitter. His press secretaries kept saying, no, that's just Twitter. You shouldn't, believe wholeheartedly in Twitter. And so the media was like, well, that's the president's account. Should we not believe him? He was like, well, and so we were trying to figure out, what is it that we're supposed to believe? Are we supposed to listen to the Twitter account? Because he makes so many mistakes on there, misspellings, rants at night. And so what are we supposed to believe? And he's bullying people on Twitter. He's misogynistic on Twitter. The list goes on. And so the thing that people, they want me to only entertain them, but they don't want me, if they could cut my mouth, they would. They don't want to hear that we have a voice. They don't want us to be a part of their everyday life. They just want us to be in this box and be an entertainer for them, because we're not supposed to be anything more than just, basketball players. That's it. You guys over there and be in that corner.
Just hoop, and
give
me entertainment and shut up.
Yeah, when I see you out in public, sign my autograph and take a picture with me, and then don't say anything and keep it moving. Make me feel good about myself. Make me feel that I'm better than you and that I own you, and then keep it moving. And it's so unfortunate, because the things that have powered me have it's this idea that as an athlete you can't be better at other things. You can't be good at more than one thing, and basketball is just a part of who I am. I've always tried to do more and be more, because there's more out in the world. And, I was taught at a young age, you don't put all your eggs in one basket, and people just, it's an indictment on someone else because they can't play basketball. And for example, if I could play golf well, wait a minute, I'm good at golf. You're not supposed to be able to beat me at golf too. What's going on here? It's just not fair. Like, how can you be good at that and then you come over here and be good at this? I was like, because I understand how to break it down and then build it back together again. And that's just all mentality. Like, nobody's owed anything or entitled to anything. You have to work for it.
Well, you just mentioned Trump. I'd love to know your point of view, your POV regarding the PGA, removing themselves from for this next major in 2022. What's your take on that?
Anybody who is on the right side of history should disconnect themselves from this individual. What he did last week in inciting a riot, a mob, to attack the Capitol, where we work for democracy, where democracy is hard at work for every person in this country. What he did, how he told his mob, like, you could break down his words and understand, the things that they were saying on video that we all seen. Like, you can look at that and say, these are all Trump's words. These are the things that he stirred up. And so when you think about, what he's said and what he's done over these last 4 years, now, historically, we're going to look back. There's going to be, this canned media that people will see, and how the optics of his presidency, how it shaped the narrative in this country, how it created an impact on this country, and it bred even greater pockets of white supremacy and Nazism in this country.
So here's my question to both of you guys. And Doug, I want you to chime in on this too. So is the PGA of America not to blame for dealing with this stuff? What I mean by that is, we know who Trump was. We knew his position. Now the fact that he pushed the motive of rioting the Capitol building. Now the PGA decided to separate themselves from him. Are they not some of the blame to this? Like, I question their movement why all of a sudden they're going to separate themselves from Trump.
You know, when you talk about scheduling, Will, and you know this, and Ray, you too, your schedules are done so far in advance. These PGA Tour schedules and
But but hold on,
I get
Doug.
it. You're talking about 10, 12 years.
No, it's not
of
10, 12
scheduling.
Years. It's not. I don't
No, I'm
believe
saying of planning out where the championships are going to be. Yeah, it's because it's been a while. You know, they've got boots on the ground there at Trump Bedminster that we're getting ready. Now, I agree with you and Ray. I think the PGA made a great move, and I support them. But what happens now is they've got to scramble and find a place to host a championship. So am I with them? Absolutely. But I feel sorry for the people within the organization now that have to scramble and try to find a new venue and get it set up and get it ready to go in 2022.
Listen,
no.
What? No matter, planning is planning, no matter what you do. Like nobody built anything on that course yet.
That's a good point.
You know, that course it's just a matter of you just going to somebody else and saying, hey, we're going to use your course because we love to switch venues. Like it's almost as simple as you take a business, and the business, you know, they do their yearly assessments on their projections on what they think they're going to make. If they make $1 million in the first quarter, and they projected they were going to make $2 million, that $1 million they're going to claim a loss based on what it was that they thought the market was going to bear. And so, you know, they may take a loss and say, you know, hey, we took a loss and we're going to, you know, get tax breaks, whatever. You know, that's typically how, you know, America's worked for forever. But when you think about business, like there's an entitlement that people think things are supposed to be the way they've always been, and they aren't willing to adjust or adapt. Like if you make money, you don't make money, you aren't guaranteed to make money. And that's what's happened over the course of this coronavirus, is people have had to really eat crow and say, I had to shut my business down. I had to, you know, not work for this amount of time. Like
furlough employees.
It's been a devastation to his economy. But again, you know, Trump denied its existence and said it was going to go away. So people didn't prepare long term. So when you're looking at decisions that the tour had to make, it just you just can't align with someone who is so he spews so much vitriol, you know, throughout his presidency, and to align yourself with him and what we've seen. Like, people are going to sit here and try to argue against it and, you know, let the days go by and hope that the smoke clears. But what they committed sedition and treason, you know, over this past week. And he was the ringleader of it.
So moving to a little lighter note, I know we kind of run short on time. But you know, you mentioned earlier in the conversation preparation, and when it comes to this part of preparation, the world always wants to know, when it comes to you in golf, what shoes, man? What's the shoes that's going to be worn to the Diamond Resort, man? You got anything new? Gentry Humphrey sent anything new in the mail recently?
I'm gonna throw some fives at you this time.
Okay.
Yeah,
but he ain't gonna tell you what the color palette look like. I want all the news.
Yeah, I got a couple different color patterns, but it's, you know, I think it's everything you've seen before. It's nothing that normally I would have my guy Nomad Customs, you know, do some mock-ups, but I got a couple different colorways of five, so I'm gonna rock those this week coming up.
Hey, Ray, can we get Jesus Shuttlesworth and Denzel to do a He Got Game about golf, like as a continuation of a story? Can we get that shot? Can we talk to somebody, Will? Like, that's what I want to see. I want to see where Jesus took his golf game after basketball.
Well, first we got to get some golfers from the hood to actually real life succeed on tour. When you think about it,
okay,
because that, you know, you're talking about realism here. There's so many great stories that have come out of the Black community, and the thing that I'll impress upon both of you and any young Black person that's watching is you have to write a book about your life, because where you come from, the things that you've experienced, overcome to be where you are, if you don't talk about yourself, then who will? The people that end up talking about you are always going to get the events of your life messed up. They're going to tell lies. They're going to tell it how they saw it. And so you have to write a book about your life for two reasons. One, because you get to hand it down to your great grandkids, kids that won't ever know you, and they get to understand the legacy of, their forefathers. Like, think about who we know in, up our family tree. We don't have a history because our history was suppressed. It was eradicated.
That's the word I was going to use.
Yeah, we don't get to know who we come from. So we have to do all these DNA tests, but we don't literally get to know our ancestors. We just know that they were there. So you gotta be able to pass that on to your future generation. And my second one is you have to be able to, when we're talking about all the movies that don't exist, because, you mentioned earlier, I'm on the Holocaust board. There's so many movies about the Holocaust because people have written books, they've told their stories, and they've been translated into screenplays. Plays have been done about them. But when it comes to our story, we don't tell enough or talk enough about who we are and write it down, because we weren't allowed to read. So it cut off a whole couple of generations from us being able to pass along knowledge and information. So you have to do that for your family. You have to do that for future Black people. So we'll see more content on TV in the next couple of years where they're Black stories, which ultimately end up just being human stories.
Mm-hmm. So human stories. That's
so you kind of touched on a little topic of Blacks in golf. So given the fact that when it comes to one's career, a basketball career, from womb to tomb, from the junior league in basketball all the way to AU to college to once the sun sets on his career after he retires, can you give your point of view, since you know the plight of the basketball player? Can you provide your point of view as to where Blacks or maybe minorities have dropped the ball in the game of golf, or where the system has maybe dropped the ball for introducing these kids from the hood into the golf course and the golf community?
Well, that's the fascinating point about golf when you think about the Tiger effect. Tiger and I are the same age. We come into professional sports at the same time. Mm-hmm. And as I look back on the growth of basketball, all the people that I've had an impact on, not only just in basketball, you're talking about across the sports. Now, like I did a few Zoom calls with a couple different football teams this year. Mm. It's fascinating talking to the different NFL teams, because a lot of these guys that you're talking to, they were kids watching me play. I've spoken to University of Miami football team. And so I'm always trying to figure out a way to connect with younger people. And that connectivity is what grows the game and what allows people to take some information from you and then grow and learn and say, okay, if I see you and I understand how tall you are, and then I get a little pointer here or there from you, that's all I need. And that's the disappointing thing with golf, with Tiger, is there's only, I would say, 2 Black golfers on tour now other than Tiger. In the last, when you think about the last 25 years,
yeah. 3 technically, but
yeah, but that's the thing. There's, I know you got Cameron Champ, and you got Harold Varner,
Joe Bramlett,
and then
Joseph Bramlett,
the Bajer one.
Oh yeah, yeah. So, but you're talking about more Black and brown people that you see on tour. And I think, Tiger does a great job with his foundation, and this is not an indictment on him as much as just the tour in general, just making sure that they have access. And I think everything we went through with over these last couple of months with George Floyd and Breonna Taylor being unnecessarily killed, and James Blake being shot, the list goes on. People, white people in this country understand that there is a movement that they need to affect. They need to help and figure out a way to create avenues for Black people to have equality, because now you start to see it, you start to understand. And when you look at, if you just look at it, nobody says anything because it's like golf. There's a lot of Black people that play golf. There's a lot of young people that enjoy the game, but there's no success to the next level because of opportunity. When you're talking about, even Will and Doug, you guys both tried to, get on tour, and the thing that separates you from getting there is opportunity and finances.
Right.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean that you're if you get put in the same situations that some of the best golfers that we see now, like, because I've played with a lot of them and I've played with you guys. So when you think about Justin Thomas or Ricky Fowler, no different size-wise, they hit the ball. They've gotten the best tutelage from the coaches. You guys have that same access. Your names are well known, and you're getting the same attention just like they are. People don't want to believe it. And I'll give you a good example so how you understand this. Like when you look at Hollywood. So for a Black person in Hollywood to get a role in Hollywood, traditionally over the years, he has to be they call it a magical Black actor. And you look at Will Smith, he's a prime example, because every role he gets, he's a superhero, he's killing zombies, he's saving the world. He's a Black man that walks out of the woods that could help somebody with his golf swing.
Super brother.
Yeah.
It's called range. It's called range.
But you got to remember, they're casting him that way because most people who are going to pay to see these movies can't see him as a normal Black person that holds down a number one job. No, nobody would believe that. But then you could take the average white woman and you could put her in any role in any film, and she's basically fit to play that role. That's why color blind casting has to exist, so people could start to see in the country that, we move as Black and brown and white. It doesn't matter what's what, because there's success, that ranges the spectrums. And so once people start to see that, they don't look at Black people as, oh, that's odd that he's there. Like, I never see a Black person be that successful. And the fascinating part is the Cosby Show was a breakthrough back then. A lawyer and a doctor, Black, living in the same house. Oh, that's unreal. I can't believe that. That would never. But that was like the jump off to then open up many doors for other people. But you still, if you go through Hollywood, you see so many Black people that aren't working because they can't get the average everyday role. That they're like, oh, nobody would believe you as a Black person fitting in that role. And then now in the golf community, it's like same thing. Like, oh, you're playing golf? Like, like, how did you get to, they ask you questions like, how did you get to play golf?
You got to prove your worth to people.
Right.
How did you get here with why?
Right.
Like,
yeah. And you got to win before you step in in order to be recognized. And some of these other guys don't have to win. You could just play good golf, and, you could look across the spectrum and see people who have never won, but then still exist and still manage. And, it's a lot more difficult for us. And that's why you guys, you can never give up. You have to work doubly as hard. Because you have to prove to them that, hey, I belong. And that's what we've always had to approve, in ourselves and to other people. And I said this, and I continue to say this, is the imposter syndrome, where when you walk into a country club, you feel like you don't belong. And
the worst
kind of step lightly. You need to walk around. Let me go sit over here because I don't want to be in the way. And people look at you, so you become more timid. As strong and as powerful as your personality may be, you just always want to make sure that you don't do anything to either destroy the members of his relationship that he has with the course, or you want to get invited back. And that's a miserable way to live. Like, I don't live that way in my own house. So why, when I step out into the world, why do I have to act or behave different because somebody else is not comfortable with me being, authentically who I am?
Ray, we appreciate you taking this time to go beyond the fairway with us this morning. I don't know, like I told people when we did golf today, I don't think they're ready for the conversation that this podcast is going to bring. But I tell you what, you set the table for us, my brother, and we really appreciate your time. We know you got to get to the range, do your thing at the Diamond Resorts. We want to see you hoist that trophy. And, man, let's hold it down. Let's get some pennies on the line and play a little G sometime post-COVID.
Awesome. Let's do it.
Man. See, That was pretty good. That was pretty solid. One thing he said, Doug, I kind of want to expound upon. I wish we could have really got more in depth to it, but he hit some key points. It's something that I've really been admiring. I've been trying to be very vocal about it. That's the documenting your journey. When he spoke on, telling our own story. And I never really thought about it like that.
It resonates, doesn't it? It's like it really resonates, like to tell your story.
Absolutely. Because think about it, and not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing, but the authenticity is sometimes lacking because some of the stories that are about us are not written from our pad and pen.
Agreed.
And
yeah.
I just think that that was pretty.
It's always somebody's version of what they think they saw or think they heard.
Loosely based is what they say. But that's something I can definitely take heed to. What was your take on it? How'd you feel about it?
That's a great question, man. And there's so much in this episode to unpack, and so many things that listeners can take away. For me, just when you harassed him in the beginning about why he hadn't won the Diamond Resorts,
that was from the heart, though, bro.
Yeah, I felt the anguish. I felt the anguish you had. It's like, dude, why you haven't won yet?
But real quick, because I put so much money, because when you go to these Tahoe events, American Century and Diamond, they have a betting pool. I don't know.
I don't know.
Oh, well, we will this year. I had so much money on Ray, bro. I'm still gonna go broke on him. Still gonna put my money on him, but it's definitely subjective for sure.
Well, when you look at Ray's career and you think about, he leads the 3-point, all-time 3-point shooting, most 3-pointers made. He knows something about preparation. He knows something about getting it done and performing in a high pressure situation. It's funny, like he kind of called me out a little bit where if we're playing for some cash, it's got to be a certain value to him to make him feel a certain level of nerves. So I understand it. It made me feel like you said, my pockets was upside down. But when you talk about preparation and you talk about a guy like Ray Allen, to understand that he hasn't been ready to win, to understand that he's lacked certain elements in preparation, certain time on the range, certain shots that he may or may not have, and the culmination of those things are the things that are keeping him away from winning, and how he says that he wants to play in more amateur events and more tournament golf to feel those pressures. I think that's something that all amateur golfers, even professional golfers, can understand. Like maybe you haven't won because you're not ready to win.
So, well, let me ask you a question. Yeah, I know you said some interviews that we gave in the past couple days, since dropping the initial press release of the show. You said you're a failed golfer, failed golfer.
Failed.
So do you think lack of prepping was some of the reason as to why you failed?
That's a loaded question. I feel like there were certain, even with the network that I've been blessed to have and the people I've got access to, there were still certain hurdles that I couldn't overcome. So once I learned that I didn't have enough money and that a low round for me was 70, you got to get up out the way, man. There's too many good players out there that can shoot 61s and 2s at the drop of a hat. And when you can play well, I tell people on a shootout golf course, I shot 70, and on a U.S. Open layout, I shot 70. So either way it goes, when you can't go to the bottom, man, you got to get the hell up out of here and get out the way for some guys that can really go get it. And when you play for that last dollar in your bank account, there's a little pressure there that I don't know if I'm cut out to handle. I like seeing a couple pennies in there when I got zero or that minus sign next to what's in my account. People ask me, who sponsored you? I said it was American Express. And they're like, oh, that's a great sponsor. I'm like, nah, that's my credit card debt. That's my deficit that I owe now, so.
Yeah. I'm $252 above my zero. So I get it. I know what you're talking about. I know exactly what you're talking
about. Hey, we hope y'all enjoyed this episode. Ray Allen coming in here, going beyond the fairway with just a legend, Hall of Famer, All-Star, Olympic gold medalist. I mean, wow, this is what you can expect from this podcast. It's not always going to make you feel comfortable, make you feel safe. We're going to push the bounds a little bit and push the conversations and get people to the edge of their comfort zones so we can experience all that this game offers. So we hope you enjoy this episode. Next week, come back. We'll be right here, Golf Channel NBC, Beyond the Fairway.